Hey everybody. So I was on a podcast recently and I was told that a common objection to the carnivore diet is that there aren't enough carnivore doctors that are prescribing this diet. And so I figured it was time for a little history lesson, just so that we can refresh our collective memories with regards to the history and the early adopters of the carnivore diet. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can follow along. So we're going to start with Blake Donaldson. Blake Donaldson, by the way, the list of doctors, which I was able to dig up at least 10, is not in chronological order. So Blake Donaldson in the 40s and 50s authored the book Strong Medicine, where he was attacked by the founder of the nutrition department at Harvard. His name was Frederick J. Stair, and Frederick Stair called the book food faddism, like the fads, anything that doesn't make enough money for certain corporations is automatically labeled as a fad. So Frederick Stair cited Donaldson as an example of a physician with no training or real understanding of modern nutrition. And Stair included Donaldson's Strong Medicine on a list of books on nutritional quakery, which ought not to be on anyone's shelves. But Frederick Stair wasn't the saint that he appeared to be. He actually was in bed with the food companies, the Sugar Foundation, and he sought funding from the tobacco companies as well. There's so much to talk about this guy that I have filmed a whole other video just on him. I will link it in the description box below, so you definitely would want to check that out after you watch this video. That's the guy. Okay. Another doctor, Dr. James Salisbury. He's a 19th century American physician and the inventor of Salisbury steak, and he became convinced that diarrhea could be cured with meat. And he saw beef as an excellent defense against many physical problems, and he also believed that veggies and starches produced poisonous substances in the digestive system. And he was right, even though he probably didn't even know about anti-nutrients and plant self-defense mechanisms, which now we're learning more about. We've got Arnaldo Cantani. He's an Italian physician and writer, best known for his research on diabetes. Cantani treated his diabetic patients by eliminating carbs and prescribing a meat diet. We've got, before we move on, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Element Electrolyte Mix. I use Element all the time because I am an athlete and I run a lot and I sweat a lot. And so when you sweat and you lose a lot of water, it's not just water that you're losing, you're also losing a lot of electrolytes. And so I love this specific flavor, watermelon salt. And this is a really good thing if you want to prevent the keto flu, if you're first transitioning away from eating carbohydrates towards a keto or a carnivore diet. You might feel lightheaded, you might get cramps, you might have headaches, and you can prevent all of those things from happening just by making sure you're drinking enough water and taking enough electrolytes. And the great thing about Element is that it's got potassium, magnesium, and sodium. A lot of electrolyte mixes don't have magnesium. I love the fact that it has magnesium in it. And it's got no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers. And if you use my code drinkelement.com/Dr. Sarah, you can get a free sample pack with your order. And that means you get 8 single serving packets for free. And that way you can determine which flavor you like the most. And if you don't like anything that's sweetened, they even have the one that is unsweetened. If you're on a carnivore diet and you don't want to touch any sweetness, that would be the option for you. So check them out. I will also post the link in the description box below so you can access it fairly quickly. All right, more doctors. Bernard Nonnen, he's a German pathologist, proposed a strict low-carb diet for diabetic patients. In 1889, it was noted that he, in accordance with the principles of Cantani, demands the strictest meat diet. There's more. Louis Harry Newberg had a great interest in the treatment of type 1 diabetes before using insulin. So before him, you would basically starve that patient who had type 1 diabetes as a treatment. But he found that if you just ate fat and reduced carbs, then that can restore some degree of normalcy. And so his diet was called the Newberg 4. And the diet soon became obsolete due to the discovery and use of insulin, which unfortunately seems to happen a lot. When we have a new drug, we forget that there's a natural treatment for a certain condition. Stephenson was an Arctic explorer, and he lived with the Inuits and realized you could thrive on a meat-only diet. And he was so convinced and was trying to convince the world that you can do so. So he submitted himself to a controlled trial of a meat-only diet to prove that one can live on meat only. And he did perfectly fine for 2 years on that diet. William Banting, everybody knows Banting, right? The Banting diet. So William Banting was personally obese and was able to lose the weight by cutting out the carbs. He is known for being the first to popularize a weight loss diet based on limiting the intake of carbs, especially those of a starchy or sugary nature. He undertook his dietary changes at the suggestion of Soho Square physician, Dr. William Harvey, who in turn had learned of this type of diet but in the context of diabetes management from attending lectures in Paris by Claude Bernard. So you've got even 2 other physicians that knew about this, William Harvey and Claude Bernard. And John Rollo was a Scottish surgeon. He prescribed meat for diabetes in the 1700s, and he's been described as the first one to recommend a diet low in carbs as treatment for diabetes. And Walter Butlin was the first to publish a book, The Stone Age Diet, based on the principles of paleo nutrition in 1975. The book has been cited as pioneering the Paleolithic diet. And in the book, Butlin argues that humans are predominantly carnivorous and should eat an animal-based diet of fat and protein with a minimum of carbohydrates. He stated that humans are anatomically closer to the carnivorous dog than the herbivorous sheep. And you can also read his book, The Stone Age Diet, for free on this link here. I'm going to make sure to link it also in the description box below for you. And those are the reference. They're also linked in the description box below. And this is my Instagram. I do share a bunch of stuff, what I eat, how I work out, and like if I'm on some new podcast or something like that. This is my website, DRZALDIVAR.com, and those are my coaching packages that you can check out. Everything is linked below as well. And yeah. And that's it. I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.